Welcome to another episode of Leadership Download. We're here dialoguing on leadership with Apostle Les Bowling. Thanks so much for being with us. And the last session we talked about was so powerful on isolationism and how we can isolate ourselves. And as we were talking about it, I was just thinking, on the subject of covering, because isolation could be, very much of just not having fellowship and having community around you. But there's also the importance of covering. And sometimes in American culture, we're so independent. We have our ministry, it's us and God, but we don't really have a covering. And I meet so many pastors that are just doing ministry alone, and they may have great teams. It's not an issue of isolationism, but they don't really have covering. Let's talk about that a little bit and the importance of covering and helping to bring us higher and continuing to grow as a leader.
I think that one of the reasons that many don't have covering is they don't understand its purpose, what it is. When they hear the word covering, they think control. Somebody's going to micromanage what I do, how I do ministry, and so on and so forth. And I'm not saying that there's not that element out there. Nevertheless, God is doing something new today. I've been involved in denominations and independent ministry. And so maybe the extremes of denominations, so on and so forth, it becomes a organization can cover you, but a person can. That they can get so big that they have a structure and can end up becoming a little bit mechanical and so on and so forth. And many denominational guys I see are just as lonely as those that are not part of something like that because there's so many that they don't have the personal connection or covering and relationship. And then those independent, they're free to do as they want, so on and so forth. But once you make your decisions, you got to own them. All right, even if they're bad ones. So covering is a twofold thing, I think. It's for protection and provision. This is a kingdom that's built on relationships, and everything comes through relationships. Wisdom, opportunity, help, encouragement, support, resources. Everything flows through a interconnected kingdom relationship-based thing. So I like it like this. Everybody needs a Paul. Everybody needs a Barnabas, and everybody needs a Timothy. You need somebody whose faith you can follow, all right, and somebody that's farther down the road than you, somebody that can cover you. But then you need a Barnabas, peer-level relationships, people that you can associate with, doing what you can do. But then everybody needs a Timothy that is emerging and that you can pour into. So. It's kind of, you're inspired by the passion of Paul, but then you share your passion with your Barnabases and Timothy's catch your passion. So that interconnected relationship, but covering is vitally important. We need people speaking into our life, and we need to have, because if not, we can become our own little empire versus being part of God's kingdom. And 1 Corinthians 13 says this: we know in part, we prophesy in part. There's no one person that has it all. I don't have all the gifts, I have some. I don't have the fullness of perspective but I have a partial perspective. But when those things get together, it makes it better. So there's different types of coverings. There's what I call institutional coverings, that you just, with something, just say you're with something. But you may be very lonely and covered and not have that. Then there's coverings of what, quote, notoriety, somebody popular, famous, that you want to hook up with, and you can be part of their organization and they never know your name. Yeah, and so you're part of something, but it's, or a peer level thing, you just sent in something because it's your buddy, or what I call a fire insurance covering. Just in case the bottom drops out, we do have something set in place. It's better than nothing, but still not the best thing. What you need is what I would call a covenantal, relational, interconnected relationship. Somebody that has the gift, grace, to be able to pour into senior leaders, whatever that you would want to call them, a father in the faith, a patriarch, an apostle, whatever it may be, that you got relationship with, and somebody that you can go to. And man, am I crazy? Is this idea all right? This is going on, because you just can't share. You can't a pastor, a senior leader, it's the tip of the spear, can't go down to get perspective. It doesn't mean they're greater than them, but if they don't have your gifting and calling, they can't even begin to see what you need. You need other people that are doing what you're doing and are walking the kind of path that you're walking that can help you. So, like in the old cowboy movies or military movies, there's a, go ahead, take off, I got you covered. So you cover one another, protect one another, provide for one another. So covering is really important.
I love that, and there's the protection in it. And I think, no matter how gifted we are, no matter how anointed we are, no matter how big the size of our ministry is, we all still need that. And I think people, sometimes we're looking for someone who's more gifted than us or more anointed us in a certain area, and that might not be the case. But there's someone that God's put there to be a voice of wisdom to us, to be have a heart for us, like you mentioned, and that's really the apostolic ministry is fathering, and if you want to call that, or pastoring. And we have a lot of mentors out there. There's a lot of teachers. You can get teaching, you get impartation. When you talk about institutional, they built great ministries, but they don't really have the heart to be a covering. And so finding out people that are there are people that are there, and God is raising up people that are there. We got to look for it and find it that can be there for us, concern for us, and cover our soul as well as our ministry. And they may be different than us, gifted than us, because sometimes, if we're all around people that are just like us, that sometimes doesn't help to grow us. Exactly. We need to cross-pollinate and get with people that are different than us. People are afraid of covering sometimes. You mentioned about that control. And I remember I was in a network meeting one time and you talked about blanket covering, different types of covering. Can you guys kind of just share that? So I thought that's a great illustration, picture of what covering should be.
Yeah, this people have experienced or been hurt by coverings, that maybe the motivation is not right, and all of those kinds of things. So they shy away from all of it, but they still need it, even if they've been hurt by it. And it's fashionable today. Everybody's an apostle, everybody's a prophet, and title-based type things. But we got to realize that the greater the level of leadership, the greater the servant we must be. Jesus himself, he said, I didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give my life a ransom for many. So even the scripture says, Ephesians 2, that we're built on the foundations of the apostles and prophets. So it's not who's over you, but who's under you, supporting you, holding you up. And the foundational gifts. Love it. And so, but the umbrella and blanket. So there's coverings, or that's an umbrella that you're under, but everybody can breathe. Everybody breathes their own air. Under a blanket, you smother. Under an umbrella, everybody's got a voice. Everybody can say something. Under a blanket, your voice is muffled. All right? Under an umbrella, everybody sees. Everybody's got the vision, got their own vision. Under a blanket, you don't have vision. Only the superstar. Under a umbrella, you got freedom, you got liberty, you got protection from the elements and the weather and stuff that tries to come upon you, and you are together under, a crowd of people under an umbrella. A blanket, you can't even really see who's next to you. It's more isolated, and it smothers you. So, that's just a decent little analogy. And regardless of who, one thing is for certain: people that have dropped out, or I see that drop out, that really love the Lord, maybe have challenges, one common denominator they all have, those who quit, is they're isolated. And it's just circumstantial many times. Things happen, they get busy, but like you said, scheduling to go to the network conference, to go to vacation, connect with people. If you don't make it a priority, it won't be done. And so it's important, we need that. And the person that's super gifted, super successful, becomes super large, them are the ones that the enemy will try to, well, you really don't need that. Theirs isn't as big as you. Theirs isn't so on and so forth. But Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, saved his ministry. He did. Yeah. Exodus 18. He never had a position like Moses. He never had the anointing like Moses, but, he began to give him counsel. He said, Moses, you're trying to take care of 3 million people here. It's going to wear you out, wear them out, and you ain't going to be able to continue. So he heeded that counsel from his father-in-law, somebody was a little bit older, and be able to help him in that. So even the person that's super successful, they think that they can't go to anybody or get help, and then we hear the sad stories. They get undone, and ugly things happen, and a lot of people are hurt.
Yeah.
So,
well, there you have it. Someone once said this: "You're the smartest one in your group. Get a new group." And I think that's so important to look outside of our sphere of influence, look outside where we're at, so we keep growing ourselves, so we can connect with those that love us for who we are. Like you mentioned earlier, they're not impressed with our gift. Mm-hmm. They're just interested in our character and our longevity. And we want to see longevity in the ministry. So many people start right, they have great influence in their ministry, but the devil knocks them out, and so many people get hurt because they didn't have covering. And so we appreciate the network, E-Rock Covenant Network, and I know there's other great coverings out there. If you're not in covering, get connected. Go and find it, pray for it. God will give you those who are there, knit your hearts with them so that they can be there to support. And I love that, not be a covering over us, but a support under us to help support us so that we can go. There you have it.
Absolutely.